Hello everyone, this video is about the transition of consciousness. Right now, there is a lot of information about what a quantum leap is, how to attract your desired reality, and about how your state influences things. There is a lot of information coming from everywhere, and I talk about it too, And here it's important not to be mistaken, because the main misconception is that people think they need to become some better version of themselves, a different version of themselves. And they use various methods, including their spirit and higher self, to try to become a better version of themselves. A genuine and profound quantum leap doesn't simply happen from a lesser state to a significantly improved version of yourself, but rather from your previous highly restricted state of consciousness to the vast superconsciousness. And within this expansive superconsciousness, you truly become an extraordinary superhuman being. Superhuman does not mean it is a deeply profound and proud perception of oneself as being sacredly and divinely chosen by the universe. How can the various limited human perceptions truly see? While superconsciousness remains the absolute highest potential of all consciousness, that is the exact moment when you will finally see the magnificent essence of who you truly are. And our life events, destructions have happened, are happening, and will continue to happen until a person remembers themselves as themselves. It's not enough to remember the inner connection with God. It's not enough to meditate. It's even not enough to see that everything is an illusion and to remain in eternal meditation, emptiness, and so on. These are all concepts. You can see how people are mired in them, running away from pain, from reality. Everything will inevitably collapse. And you, on the one hand, your small self feels pain, but your vast self deeply desires this. You can even sense who feels their secret desire in this. Not a secret, but a very obvious desire. In your true nature, you are absolutely devoid of emotional components. This is not about being robotic. It's not about something lifeless. It's about the absence of the living aspect in human nature. Because here, in this, as it's fashionable to say, dormant layer, the draining happens through duality, through the swinging of these emotions, through the rocking of this pendulum. And no matter how hard you try, even if you enter some meditative state, work with your consciousness, then something comes from the outside and you get swung to the other side again. It will keep happening until you completely move away from your emotional nature. In your true nature, you are unemotional. This is not a lack of humanity. It is the absence of animal perception, the absence of reptilian, dual, narrow perception. It is not lifelessness. On the contrary, it is absolute purity, crystal clarity, transparency, you. In this state within yourself, you feel that you are not identified with human nature, with this path of yours. And you realize that you are not interested. Everything that human consciousness offers, because in reality, it offers very limited things. A limited number of professions, a limited amount of knowledge, a limited number of scenarios, being single, being in a family, without children, with many children, without parents, with parents. Well, it seems that everyone has an incredibly difficult fate, but it is actually very limited. The script code is written in a very monotonous way. If you look from the breadth of yourself, you will see that your character is quite primitive. I saw this about my own character as well. No matter how much this character worries, no matter what image it tries to project, no matter how much it tries to expand or how life throws it around. From a broader perspective, it looks very primitive, dualistic, kind of pitiful. And many hearts will inevitably be broken. Just as the old saying goes, the heart will continue to break over and over again. until it eventually breaks wide open and rises in its own truly unshakable nature. Reality will keep shaking you until either your energy runs out or you reach that crystalline state of superconsciousness. And this superhuman essence of yours, it is embedded in. That's why so many people like movies about superheroes, about something cosmic or other things, because subconsciously, or rather superconsciously, you are touching upon this, and it feels good to sense that power. It feels good to feel some kinds of super abilities. They are granted to everyone. Super abilities are simply the expansiveness of consciousness. The more you go beyond the limits of human nature, the more it develops and unfolds within you. There is not a single person for whom this is inaccessible. It is naturally accessible to you. And reality will keep pressing you. And, I watched a video today. At first, it was inspiring for a person about stepping into a new consciousness, about how one should exist in reality, that, how to put it, as if it were already a done deal, how to create reality, that you always already have it, you already have it, you already have it, it will be attracted to you, that when you already have this connection with your higher self, your life will start to change and you will get everything you desire. It's really great, it really works, it's true, but it's a very narrow illusion. That is, it's so cramped in this consciousness. That's exactly why many people don't get what they desire, their wish, what they want, because it's too narrow for you, too narrow. You think on the level of human nature that it will satisfy you, but it won't. And for many, or for some who now feel, what kind of transparency, purity, superhumanity are we talking about? I'm saying for some it's a lingering trace, for others maybe a memory, for some it's certain sensations in the body, the sense of relaxation. You feel that this is it, or maybe you don't feel it. To do so, you need to develop heightened sensitivity, because as long as you're cemented in, muffled, it won't work. Moreover, if you work with your feelings only on the level of human traumas, no matter how much you reconstruct or cleanse yourself, but you continue to perceive yourself only as a human and do not know yourself as your true self, it will inevitably repeat and you will only re-traumatize yourself. Because there is no way out of psychological reality, of the reality of constellations, not even out of the etheric reality. These are all traps that, also within the framework of duality, this is a labyrinth of sleeping consciousness. And there is no way out of the labyrinth. And many of my previous videos were centered around the fundamental concept of providing this essential bridge. I try very hard to speak in a language that people can understand. And I have been doing this for several years. But originally, what is it? What ignites me? It's not when you happen to receive money or have great relationships. It's always joyful. I always cheer and rejoice. But my true joy is when you awaken to your true self. But the word awakening has become so vulgarized now that it's even unpleasant to say it, because people associate some more pleasant, simply improved state with awakening. No, the consciousness is just as asleep. It's just that the person feels a bit better, feels like more of a person or something. The one true absolute God. God is the purest essence, shining crystal clarity, pure consciousness itself. In all its multidimensionality, this is what you truly want. And this is where I find it interesting to guide you. Yes, I understand that this is only for a select few. That's exactly why all the previous videos are meant to help you develop heightened sensitivity. Because without heightened sensitivity, you won't even be able to perceive anything at all. In order to perceive and sense the forms of the superconscious, they must exist within you. In other words, we do not see in reality what is not programmed within us. For example, if you don't know Chinese and you are brought to China, no matter how hard you try, you won't understand anything. Maybe you'll understand something through gestures or context situationally. But there won't be any true understanding of meaning because you don't have the forms of Chinese consciousness. It's the same with the superconscious. Until you have the forms of that consciousness, it can't be integrated. No matter how much you want it, you can only leap from your old version of yourself to a better version of yourself. So your higher self, for you, it's just a parasite, a parasitic perception of the power that has been given to you. And those who come across this, video. I understand there won't be many such people, or maybe there will be a lot, who knows? Your consciousness, is potentially ready, otherwise we wouldn't resonate with each other. We'd be watching videos about silly jokes, about cars, about fashion, about how to lose weight, and so on. Or about meditation, or something along those lines. But if you're touching on this now, it means that most likely on some level you want this revelation, this power. And if you don't fully understand what I'm talking about, like, I don't get any of this, but it's really interesting, that's also part of the process. Because there are no forms of consciousness. And I will try to reveal in future videos, specifically the forms of consciousness. This very essence of yours, your higher self. To help you understand better, watch the previous videos, take the courses, especially the ones on developing extrasensory perception. This state is the key to success, for example, and there are others as well. They all serve as bridges, as breadcrumbs, just to prepare, only to prepare your consciousness for the revelation of your higher essence. For a long time, I didn't share this in this way because I was closing off experiments and dead ends. What if this is pride? What if this is, well, basically not believing in myself in all its forms? I'll record a separate video about disbelief. But now, so to speak, it's impossible to hold back any longer. It's too painful to keep narrowing myself down every time I try to be understood. All the breadcrumbs have already been left. It's like in the Snow Queen, you know? To pave the way, please, look, whoever already wants to come here, to reveal the forms of the superconscious and to start working with your own multidimensionality, I invite you to interact with me. Write to the care department. I'll leave a link below. From time to time, I gather groups for guidance, and there is also an option for individual support from me. That is, these are already the things where I connect with a person's consciousness, and together, as a single whole, we download these forms. And I believe that the community of people will gather there, a group or individuals, whoever needs this. I am ready to share and to raise them up to this level. You are absolute purity. You see that all your suffering is cyclical, all of it follows the same scenarios. You look for answers either within yourself or in your surroundings. Some things work out for you, some things don't, but you are undoubtedly growing at the level you are at. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But at the same time, your broader self feels how stifling and narrow this is for you. And your potential is infinitely broader. You have probably felt this since childhood, that you are meant for something greater. But since there are no clear forms, you think that you are meant for something greater in this ordinary world. For example, for wealth, for large-scale achievements, for fame, for success, for amazing relationships. But it doesn't always happen, simply because in reality the forms of scale are not tied to your human scenario, they are connected to your essence. And what you truly want is scale and breadth according to your own spectrum, at its widest, at its most multidimensional. You want this purity, this breadth, this freedom. Freedom. You want freedom from all attachments. You want freedom from all scenarios. You want freedom. Of course, this means from suffering, from any illusion or any concept at all. There are teachings such as Advaita, non-duality. It is called by different names, where it is said, you are emptiness. Just connect with that. This is close to it, but it is also just one of the concepts that people perceive through the mind and where they remain. I tried going there, I saw those people. I don't want to judge anyone, but the void aspect experienced through the mind is simply a distortion. And I did not see a single awakened consciousness in that. Everything is achieved through wholeness on all levels of consciousness. From the human level, that is why we develop extrasensory perception. Without extrasensory perception, you won't get here because your intuition is you at your highest potential, a seed. But your extrasensory perception is experience. Through feeling, you see how to act, where to take a step, where to look, how to direct your attention. But since now intuition is gathered only around purely human nature, it does not give you the full resource and result. That is why if quantum practices do not work for you, quantum practices do not work for you. For example, for some people they work, you see a person gets what they want, but for you they don't work. This means that you are not allowing your greater self above, the super consciousness. You are not allowing it to reach a dead end. Because if you, your human nature, begin to be satisfied, to have your needs met, that's it. You won't move from your place. That's good news. I know this from my own experience. Well, there was literally a period, one could say I'm still coming out of it, of absolute stagnation, primarily internal. I didn't understand. These meanings no longer fulfilled me, and that's how I realized I was heading in the wrong direction. Because in trying to find more and more common ground with people to be understood, I could literally see how my consciousness was narrowing and forgetting itself. It was necessary, it was absolutely essential in order to create all the courses that exist. None of them are just the transmission of book knowledge. They are pure broadcasting, my own experience, lived honestly, in the refusal of everything that is not me. And only from pure consciousness did I create. I know what it is. To create reality out of nothing, from emptiness. And now my task, I realized why, for example, I don't feel satisfied or why my project isn't coming out the way. It's wonderful. I'm incredibly grateful for it. I have no doubt that I need to be here. But why, for example, does it not look the way I feel it should? Why does it lack that breadth? And I didn't understand why, because it seems like I feel that breadth within myself. I know who I am. Why doesn't it match up? And the answer is obvious, because I need to be here with myself and transmit from here, channel from here. So on the previous levels, everything has been conveyed. I will gladly guide anyone who comes to work with me. I guide people toward wholeness on all levels, but the main goal is to bring you here. There is nothing more important or more valuable or more joyful than seeing how this superconsciousness awakens. When you literally, like in superhero movies, live an ordinary life at first, and then you realize, if you remember the stories of superheroes, they often limited abilities, maybe some kind of blindness or something else, or life just keeps stepping on your toes and doesn't let you breathe at all, really driving a person to despair. Some situations happen, right? And then this power explodes, it unfolds, meaning it is forced to. This is the transition. It's the same thing. If this is happening to you, you push yourself not to settle for less. Because if you can really feel it right now, you don't even want to get super amazing relationships, millions, and everything you desire, a super beautiful life. You want it because it's strongly imposed on you, but you want something else, you know that it won't satisfy you. Maybe it doesn't seem that way to you right now, especially if you're really hungry for it, but some part of you sees it. And the answer is to get what you desire, it's not here, only when you are in this multidimensionality and beyond your own nature. Purely this kind of superhero, but I'm not saying this to sell you some pretty picture or image, you know? These are just attempts, once again, to fit forms of consciousness through the mind. You have to feel it. There is something within you that guides you. There is something within you that you sense, and you can see what? Despite the losses and destruction you go through in life, there is a part of you that wants this. Because in your power, in your even ideal reality, you know that you are very different, very distinct from who you are now. And this is not the best version of you as you think, just a person with cooler qualities and so on. On the human level, yes. But in the broadest sense, you are in fact a different person and not a person at all. And now I will convey this. Initially, that's exactly what I was conveying, but then I just moved on to other levels because people simply don't understand. There's too much white noise. There simply aren't any forms of consciousness. That's why you should take courses, go through training. For those who already feel it, who recognize themselves, their desire, you're welcome. Contact the care department. This is targeted. This is serious work to raise a person to this level. Can you imagine what level this is? Powerlifting. That's why it can't be a mass phenomenon. And let it be that in this video, even if you don't understand, some part of you feels it, focus your attention on that part. It will guide you and lead you through. And whether this is your responsibility in this life or not, preferably, who knows what will happen, right, in the next one. If it even exists, no one has held a candle to it. It's just one of the realities. They all coexist, but to transition into this here and now is our responsibility, the responsibility of consciousness. Because if we didn't have this responsibility, we would have been born a little dog, a little cat, who wouldn't want to live only in comfortable conditions, to be fed, to use the bathroom, to eat tasty food, and to lie on a soft couch. The complete absence of emotional attachment is not inhumanity, it is purity. This may even feel like a certain coldness, but it only seems cold when you look from the perspective of a sacrificial nature that really craves something sensual. But this is unconditional love, this is pure light. Across all of these different spectrums, this represents pure light. This is true, divine love, and absolute pure love. And as we look above, love is only the fourth center of being, and all of this energy goes even higher than that. And in this reality, you will be kept in this game of emotions, attachments, and swings. In your essence, you are power, pure, free. You are not attached to this world, but you can take everything you need because you know where you are. You know that in general, your task is to wake up in this reality. A quantum leap happens when you shift your attention from the future into that future, and it becomes the here and now. It's like the classic example. You start noticing red cars in the city, and suddenly the whole city seems to be filled with red cars. It's the same with forms of superconsciousness. You begin to concentrate, to pay attention, to expand into these new forms, and you start to see the world becomes clearer to you. At first, it's just glimpses, brief flashes, but then it happens more and more often. It's a different world, not this one. And it becomes real, to the extent that your attention remains in this expansiveness. This is achieved by developing super sensitivity, going beyond human nature, beyond emotional nature, beyond the purely physical body, by becoming unattached to food, and eventually in the future, to food altogether. The absence of liquid nourishment, the absence of micronutrient nourishment, the absence of earthly forms of perception, yet at the same time, there is compassion, agreement, love, total non-attachment. And here the scale is revealed. It is from this that air appears, and spaciousness. And finally, true connectedness, the understanding that you are home, you are at home. But it doesn't transition, it doesn't happen the way some people say, like an exit from the matrix, you could put it that way, or an exit from a cell, as if we are on the planet of hell. Yes, but the shift happens in consciousness and through forms, like through red cars. We shift into another reality, which here and now becomes denser, more spiritualized, and materialized. This is our main task with you. Write to me, those who felt a response, who understand, who can sense what I am talking about. And if you have any questions, or if there is a topic you want me to cover, write to me. That way it will be clearer to me what to convey. Thank you.